and happy Wednesday, hump day, middle of the week. Welcome and good morning. Welcome back to the Dennis Herrera Show. We're going to be listening to a live here that is just finishing up or finished up with President Trump, of course. I will warn you, leftists will be triggered about this live, but you know what? We are going to continue to celebrate our 250th birthday. And with that being said, we will have a little update on what's going on with our ICE agents. And, well, you know what? This could be some good news. Good news for us Americans and for our federal agents who are trying to keep us safe and keeping our national security intact. Now, give me a second here because I had all of these things supposedly figured out here, and I didn't get my monitoring chat here so that I can see you guys' chats and be able to reply to you if you are commenting on the chat. Okay, here we go. Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys being patient. Let me go ahead and say good morning to you guys. I'm going to tell you something. I was this close, very, very close to not doing a live today if I didn't see the post on X account from President Trump that he was going to have a press conference an hour ago. I would have not had a live today. I was actually just tending to record an actual video. Now the project that I'm working on is that I need to start recording all of sort of like a live, right? But instead make it a video. So I got to start recording in portrait mode. Maybe I don't have to do both cameras, but one in portrait mode and one on landscape mode. And I want to be able to publish those videos out there without any interruption from the chat, without any interaction with the chat. A lot of libtards don't listen, and I would like to just go ahead and make a video that is not as long as our live, because what I have been finding out is that people come in, we cover all of the things that, the most important things that people want to hear. We cover that right off the bat. And right in the middle of about maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours into the show, we get these people coming in and asking questions about this and that. And I think that I need to start making some videos so that they can get that information themselves without me having to go over and over and over throughout the live. So for all of you who are mods, I appreciate you being here. Thank you guys for becoming members. As you guys saw there, I try to play your thank you members to you guys. Trinity, she's still missing in action. I miss her very much. But she is still a superstar on my level. Well, general is at the level that I will call. And I thank you, everybody who stays members and for renewing your membership. I appreciate that. One day I hope to have a longer list. It might scroll a little bit faster. But I want to see that list grow because that is the support that we need to continue doing this. I was actually going to make that video and I was going to go into another website. I will talk to you guys on the members live only one of these days. I got a lot of things to tell you on members only, but that's not something that I plan on doing here on a live. So with that being said, why don't we go ahead and jump into this this live video that we have from President Trump. Let me go ahead and say a quick hello to Mr. Ender. Thank you for being here. I see Trump is talking a lot on the stage. GB News, it's already finished probably by now. England in our heart. Yep, Ender, thank you for watching, man. Appreciate you being here. God bless you. Jason Martin, how are you? Good morning, good afternoon. Yeah, I think it's good afternoon for you already. Yeah, just now. Robert, what was the holdup? Must be old age. Yeah, man, I must have. I've been skipping my elderly naps lately. My mid-morning elderly naps. just so that I can be here. Uh, Jason Martin says, was bashing Penguin in another channel. This guy. Cool Cat Renee, good morning, sir. How are you? Thank you for being here and supporting the Dennis Herrera show, where you are appreciated. Looky, oh, poor guy. This guy doesn't like himself. It's okay, buddy. You will be all right. You will survive this. Now, I will tell you, I don't think you want to be here today on my show because a lot of leftist people, a lot of people in denial, a lot of people that some of them we call libtards, some of them we call just plain old demo retards. So many people that are not on our side, that we hope that they actually come into their senses. A lot of Democrats who are naive, a lot of people that are gullible. Well, those people will be triggered because they have been taught or trained or indoctrinated into hating our great POTUS, President Trump. With that being said, I just heard my alarm for my coffee's ready. Give me a second. Oh, yeah. Gotta get my cup of joe. Oof. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Gotta have the cup of joe, my friends. Salud. Not bad. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. All right, where are we at? Robert already say hi to you. Dimitri, how are you? How do you feel about the U.S. swindling Nigeria out of their oil? I think it's great. Anything that benefits the United States of America, call me whatever you want to call me, but I am America first, my friends. I know I heard some things about Israel, but if I remember, I will go ahead and talk about that as well. Let's see, Dennis, you are assuming they have common sense and critical thinking. Tisk, tisk. I know, man. I know. Let's say the Logan Street says, I will vote for Donald Trump. Okay. I don't speak that English, but we will assume that you said that you're going to vote for Donald Trump. Let's see. Spewing disinformation is expensive, says the J-Bat. This guy. Misinformation, brah. Oh, man. What do we say to this guy? There's not much I can say to this guy. Accents don't get deported. Illegal invaders do. All right, let me address this accent thing, okay? You remember when President Trump was running for office the first term? Well, I had a friend of mine. His name is Eric. If he ever comes into my channel, he knows who I'm talking about. Fuck you, Eric. I consider him my best friend for a very long time, and I obviously I wasn't his best friend. I just consider him my best friend. Now, he was one of the few friends that I had back then when I was 14. Just, maybe a year, maybe almost a year being in this country. Him and his family, which I love very much. I do. They were the first family here, Mexicans, that I met here in Everett, Washington. And I love them. I love him, his brothers, his mom, dad, cousins. I mean, I even had a crush on one of his cousins, you know what I'm saying? She was a cutie. She still is, but obviously we're married with different people. But I love his family. Now, when I say fuck you, Eric, is because that's the way we normally talk, actually. But but really, fuck you very much. So when Trump was running for president on his first term, you remember the time where he says that he was going to get rid of all the criminal, illegal, all the rapist, illegal immigrants out of this country. And well, a lot of people took that as a generalized comment to all migrants, to all undocumented illegal migrants. And well, I say to that, what he said is correct. Now, what he said was that he was going to concentrate on removing the worst of the worst, but everybody that will be cut in the way will also be deported. but they were just focusing on the criminals. Now, what I find very interesting is that even after 11, 12 years of this, I still see some leftist legacy media news outlets out there calling on this. Like 20-something, what is it? What do they call it? The Dreamers. What do they call those? American Dreamers? No. I can't remember what it's called, but it's something about dreamers, right? These are illegal people. We got to make it clear. Whether you are here because you think, oh, I got to work for my family, and that doesn't matter. If you are here illegally, you will get deported. So anyways, I mentioned Eric because when President Trump was running on that campaign, I said, bro, we know this. We know that when people get deported, 3 days later, they're back in this country. Not just in this country. They come all the way to Washington State. Listen to this. They get deported within a week. They are back in Washington State. Now that means I'm assuming that they get deported all the way to thrown on the other side of the border in Mexico, and just within a few days, boom, they're back over here. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So anyway, me and Eric had a disagreement, and I said, well, hey, listen, I know you and I, okay, we are legal. I'm a green card holder. He was a citizen. And I said, but that doesn't mean that we are going to support illegal immigration. We know it's wrong, bro. And he said, oh, fuck you, and this and that. And you know what? We parted ways because I supported Trump. Now, I reminded him, remember this, that I joined you on a business venture because you said Trump was sponsoring it. And so I, as a friend, I supported you. And you convinced me that President Trump, well, he wasn't president then, that you convinced me that Trump was a genius, a great businessman, good ethics. He loved the Hispanics. He talked so well about Mexicans and all these Hispanic business owners and entrepreneurs and all this stuff. You convinced me that President Trump, right, Mr. Donald Trump then, was a great guy. And that he loved America. And that he was a great entrepreneur. So you know what? I joined the entrepreneurship because Eric convinced me that Donald Trump was a great guy, which I didn't give a shit about The Apprentice or anything like that. But you know what? I love Eric and his family so much. I thought, you know what? I'm your friend, bro. I got you. I'm going to sign up. I paid $500 to sign up for this entrepreneurship. Anyhow, the same thing is happening today, till this day. It's like nobody ever listens on the left. It seems like Democrat Americans, they just are deaf. They don't want to listen. Probably here, as I'm speaking, they're just talking a bunch of nonsense. And I'm just trying to make a point. But they still say, unbelievable. The Dreamers, 20 undocumented illegal dreamers, illegal immigrants, is what they're saying. Dreamers were deported and they had no criminal record. What about it? If you are illegal, let me make this clear. If you are illegal, you don't belong in this country. You think that's inhumane. It's not. I'm sure you're very proud. You are very proud of the country of origin. Just go back to it, bro. Go back to it, girl. If you believe Mexico is the greatest nation, go back. If you're here illegally, just go back. Very simple. Go back. If you believe Guatemala is the greatest country, okay, go back. If you're here illegally, go back. If you get caught being illegal in this country and you get deported, just go back. I just don't understand. I don't understand why people go and make mistakes. People go and start shit and then they blame others for the mistakes that they make. Cool Cat Renee, and a lot of Latinos are for Trump. and they support me because it's the right thing to do. It's not because I'm cool or, I'm this handsome guy with dimples. No, it's not. Far from it. But if there's one thing that we have in common is that we have common sense. And we all stand for the United States of America being first. We understand who our enemies are. We understand that the economy will be affected if we don't secure the border. And we also understand that it's not just securing the border, because we had a break-in during the last administration. Now, I want to say this. I don't blame Biden. As racist, as horrible as he was as a person, I don't blame him for that hiccup. But Kamala Harris and all the digital pen users, they were the ones in charge. And they allowed millions of illegal immigrants to come through the Mexican border. You know what I find very interesting is, and nobody talks about this, at least not that I hear of, but there was Chinese people coming through the Mexican border. What? Really? Middle Eastern, Iranians, Iraqis, terrorist Muslims coming over here with their wives, multiplying, bringing all this invasion into our country through the southern border, through Mexico. Well, somebody had a loud horn, and they were just yelling it out to the four winds in the earth and says, hey, come to Mexico. We have a free pass to the United States of America through the southern border. Well, they did. Millions of them did, and they came to this country illegally. What I don't understand is why people are gullible. Why are Americans so stupid to let people use their human emotions to dictate the outcome that they want? Hey, Donald, how are you, brother? Good to see you. I'm glad you made it. I got your text, brother. Listen, this weekend I would have loved to meet with you again, brother. But I'm thinking of doing something with my firstborn. And he texted me this morning. He said, Dad, happy belated birthday. I miss you. I want to do something with you. And so I think I'm going to be making some time with him. He doesn't live with me, obviously. He's my oldest. He's in his 30s now. And I want to go do something with him. I don't know. Maybe we'll go for a long drive. Maybe I'll take him with me to Eastern Washington. We'll see what his schedule is. But I want to do something with him. Now, here's the thing. If I don't have any plans with him for, he don't want to do anything or he doesn't have time, then I will get back to you. All right, Donald? And I'll see if you want to be if you want to hang out this weekend. Just keep in touch, okay? Just remind me. Send me a text later and let me know. With that being said, you can't hate Americans for wanting to protect their border, for wanting to have people here legally migrate. It's not a good feeling to know. Like, let me just put it to you this way. When people come here legally, right, these people are vetted. And yet, there is still a chance that they're bad people. It's a fact. It's a numbers game. So there's still a big chance that they are bad people. But if you don't enforce immigration laws, then you can assume that everybody is a bad person, even though it's not. It's a numbers game. So you got to make a choice. You're either illegal immigration enforcement or you are by legal immigration abiding. Either way, you got to pick a side. Either you're with illegal or you are with the legal migrants. It's that simple. And you make a choice. It's your choice, wholeheartedly your choice to make. Jim Rat, good to see you in the chat. At least in the chat. All right. Enough ranting about this immigration. We'll probably get back to the subject because the next video after this live with President Trump's press conference, I'm going to tell you something. You better go grab some coffee because President Trump, doggone it, he is low energy Trump today. Man, I was like, oh my God, President, please give me some political excitement. Where's that energy? You are becoming like low energy Bush. I guess it happens, you know. I guess it happens when you get old. But I think President Trump he's trying to play a little bit too nice, and so he's talking like quiet grandpa, you know, low energy grandpa, and well, you know, he just doesn't want to upset people, and well, I want to show you a side of me that you know, I'm just not that guy that you think that I am, and. Well, you know, the world knows, you know, that this is what's happening. And, man, it's going to be painful. I don't like this press conference, but I do like the questions at the end. And I think that you are going to love it. With that being said, welcome to every single one of you patriots coming to my channel. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for thinking about becoming members. And don't forget to hit the like button. And share if you think somebody will benefit from the craziness of this Hispanic American who works the Dennis Herrera show. Hey, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here with me today. Let's go ahead and get this scene set up so that you guys can enjoy as much as I will. Here we go.
Thank you. That's a lot of press. That's good. We had a great event. This was something very special. And I want to thank President Macron, Bridget, his really lovely wife, fantastic person, for welcoming us to France for an extremely successful G7 summit. I would say it's one of the most successful. And this meeting could not have come at a better time. On Sunday, we reached an agreement with Iran that achieves everything we set out to accomplish, everything and much more. Ending the current conflict, reopening the Strait of Hormuz, and preventing Iran from ever obtaining a nuclear weapon. That's what it was all about. That was about 99%. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. They can't develop it, buy it. They can never have a nuclear weapon. At the same time, with this announcement, or close to it, as people started to think it was going to happen when Iran was making some very positive statements, the stock market has surged to record highs, picking up thousands of points over the last short period of time, thousands of points. And oil is dropping like it has never dropped before, at levels that went in numbers down $7, down $8. They've never seen anything like that. But if we didn't do this deal, we could have dropped more bombs for another 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 years. You would never have the Hormuz Strait open. You would never have success. Your market would have, instead of going up at levels that nobody's ever seen before, would go down at levels that nobody ever saw before, maybe except for 1929 or whatever. And you know, all the tough guys don't realize that this wasn't a 3-month deal. This was years in the making. You know why? Because I was the one that killed General Soleimani. And if I didn't kill General Soleimani, we probably wouldn't be talking right now about this deal, because he was a mad genius. They never were able to replace him. But a lot of people forget that. The tough guys, you know, the tough guys that would drive the country right down the tubes. The past 2 days have provided a chance to discuss the details of this historic agreement with many of our closest friends and allies, including the G7 nations and many presidents and prime ministers. As you saw, Prime Minister Modi was here. We had a long talk. He's a great guy. They are thrilled that we made a deal, every one of them. There's not one nation that came to us and said, please, sir, keep dropping bombs on them. Please keep dropping bombs. The stupid people say that. But I'm thrilled to report, and by the way, those last 2 days were brutal. $200 million worth of bombs. And, you know, it is expensive too, by the way, aside from everything else. And they knew I was coming for a third night. We informed them we're coming for a third night. They didn't have their Navy, it's sunk. They didn't have their Air Force, it's gone, not one plane. They didn't have anti-aircraft equipment, so we got free reign. They didn't have their leaders. But they have a new group of leaders that I think is, actually, I think they're smarter. I think they're very smart. I think they're far less radicalized. And I think they're really good. They love their country. You know, you talk about regime change, nobody will say that, but I guess that's, look, their one set of leaders is all gone. Their second set of leaders is all gone. Their third set of leaders, a little bit gone, but for the most part, and frankly, I think that's regime change. I think they're going to behave much differently. I think they see a different way of life that they were never exposed to. So the one thing I didn't want to see is I didn't want to see economic catastrophe. If you kept this going, that could have happened. But all I know is every time we talked about the possibility of peace, the stock market shot up like a rocket ship. It never went down. They didn't like it. The people, you know, the stock market is more brilliant than anybody there is, including the people on the stage, other than me, of course. Let's see. I don't know. What do you think, Scott? Is the stock market more brilliant than you?
No, sir.
Oh, that's a terrible statement. All right. The stock market is quite brilliant. And every time we said something amazing, like we're going to settle, it would go up. And every time we said something negative, like, guess what, we're not going to be able to settle, it would go down very big, Peter, very, very big. Tells you something. And you know, I've studied presidents, some good, some bad, some great. Not too many are great, and some really bad. We had one just recently. And the one president I did not want to be was the late, great Herbert Hoover. I didn't want that. And who knows what would have happened. But bad things happen. So the past 2 days have provided a chance to discuss the details of the deal with the closest friends and allies, heads of countries. They were all here, a lot of them. Far more than the 7, as you know, a lot of them. And they put out a statement. I think President Macron, who did a great job, by the way, did a really fan, him and Bridget, they did a great job. But they all put out statements saying they love this deal because they want to see it over. And they love the fact that the hormones, don't forget, if we were going to drop bombs, let's say we went another month, another 2, 3 months, maybe weeks, could be another 3 months, could be whatever. What do you have left? Got maybe nothing, but you don't have, the strait will never be open. Because people that own billion-dollar ships, these ships cost $1 billion. They don't like sailing ships or having their ships participate when you go up the coast and you go through the strait and there are rockets flying over your head. They want to protect their $1 billion investment. You wouldn't have oil for maybe years. These are stupid people. But nobody was tougher than me. Nobody hit Soleimani. You know, when I hit Soleimani, people thought that was the biggest thing to happen in the Middle East for 50 years. That was the biggest event. He was the boss of Iran and respected, but he was a mad genius. He was a genius, the father of the roadside bomb. When you see young men, and in some cases women, mostly men, walking around without legs, without arms, with a face that's been blown to smithereens. It's Soleimani, 95%, 96.2 they say or something. 95%. That was Soleimani did it. Happened to come from Iran, and I blew him up. You remember that? I blew him up in the Valley of Death. He got off his plane and we followed him. And in all fairness, because they've been wonderful to me, Israel, but they didn't want to do that attack. They were all set the night before the attack. They informed me They didn't want to do it, so I had to make a decision. I made the decision to do it. But it was a joint venture, as we say in the real estate business. That was a joint venture between Israel and us. We studied it for a month. We knew what plane he was going to be on. Almost a month before, he only traveled on commercial airliners, the big ones with lots of people, because he knew we wouldn't shoot him down. He's very smart. But we knew he was going to be on that plane. We followed him. And then Israel informed me that they won't do it. And I had to make a decision. I had some very good generals, and not the ones you see on television, very good. And I want to thank also Pete Hegseth and General Raisin Kane, who's phenomenal. Okay, these guys are phenomenal. They can't be better. But I had some good generals, and I said to them, well, if Israel's not going to do it, we're all prepared. Do we do it? Do you like doing it or not? He said, sir, if you want to do it, we can do it. How well? We'll do it just as well or better. We'll do it ourselves. We don't need anybody. So we took out Soleimani. One of the biggest events to happen, the Middle East, maybe ever, but they say 50 years, they say 100 years. I was with the Prime Minister of Pakistan. He said it's maybe the biggest event that has ever taken place in Islam. Nobody could believe it. So that's when it started. It didn't start like 3 or 4 or 5 weeks ago. And Obama wouldn't do it. What Obama did was he did the JCPOA. He loaded up a plane with $1,700,000,000 in green cash from banks all over Washington, Maryland, and Virginia. They were stripped of all their cash. They had no cash to do payrolls. It all went into a Boeing 757, a wonderful plane, and they flew it to Iran. And they gave it out to people. They bribed people. They thought they were going to get it done. Then they gave billions and billions of dollars after that. And they got a deal that was a road to a nuclear weapon. I get so angry, I guess. I'm allowed to get angry. When I watch the Democrats, they talk about it all the time. We had this deal done. You had a deal that was going to give them, legally, a nuclear weapon. And if that happened, Israel would have been blown away. And in all fairness to Bibi Netanyahu, who happens to be a good man, gets a little excited sometimes. But he happens to be a very good man. We've had an amazing partnership. He's been an amazing prime minister. We have a little dispute over Lebanon. I say, you can do a little softer touch, Bibi. You don't have to knock down a building every time somebody walks into it that's from Hezbollah. But it's been an amazing partnership. But he will say, we're the big partner, and he's the very small partner, and that's true. So he came to the country, and he begged Barack Hussein Obama, the president, not to do the JCPOA. He said it could be the end of Israel, and it would have been if I didn't come along. And Obama didn't listen to him. Bibi actually went to Congress and pleaded with them, and he got nowhere. And they had this horrible deal that was horrible for Israel, and that's where it stood. And then I came along and I terminated that deal. It had very little time left. You know, it was a short-term deal. You know, with countries, you need hundreds of years. You don't need 8 years and 9 years. This isn't like you're signing a lease on a candy store at the corner. You need hundreds of years. This was a short-term lease. It expired long ago. Had I let it run, it expired. You wouldn't have been around. A lot of people wouldn't have been around. But Israel would have been terminated. I think the whole Middle East would have been terminated. You saw that when everybody was shocked that all these missiles, they were aimed at these different places. Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE. Think of it. Bahrain, Kuwait. They got hit. Nobody thought that was, even I didn't think it was going to happen. They didn't think it was going to happen. They were going to take out the entire Middle East, including Israel. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they would have used it within moments after getting it. So I made it very tough for them when I terminated the Barack Hussein Obama catastrophe. JCPOA, one of the worst deals. NAFTA might have been worse, but that was worse economically. This deal was really dangerous, what he did. He gave them everything, including a lot of money, which we don't give them, by the way, just in case you have any question. We'll be giving this out so you can read it and you can see. And it's a memorandum of understanding. If it doesn't get done in 60 days, that's all right. We go back to bombing. You know, I don't want to do that because it's so good. But we might have to, because we're never going to let them have a nuclear weapon. But they've agreed not to, and you'll see that very clearly in the agreement. But then the second phase of that was they were building, or they were enriching material, as they say. I call it nuclear dust. They were enriching material under granite mountains. Granite being, for those not in the construction business, granite being a very strong, the strongest stone. It's not as pretty as marble, but it's much stronger. It's a lot stronger. Like the new granite I put on the stairs of the White House going to the Oval Office, the black granite, it's rated 1 million years plus. No marble's rated that. Marble's rated 100 years if it's outside. So these are granite mountains. And the B-2s came along and they hit those air shafts in the dark at 1 o'clock in the morning with no moon. They had a beam going right up everywhere. Those guys did a job, and then they were criticized by certain members of the press, like CNN, for possibly not doing that much damage. And it turned out that the damage was far greater. Those mountains collapsed right on top of everything. Nobody's going to get that for a long time. Unless we want to get it, we'll get it. But we're the only ones that can. And they say China has the equipment to get it, and we have the equipment to get it. And it's actually not valuable. Not a lot of value, but we'd like to get it psychologically, but nobody's touching it. We also have cameras. That's what Space Force is. We have the greatest military in the world, by the way. But I'm proud of Space Force because I started it. We have Space Force cameras on every single door, well, there are no doors. They've been pretty well shattered, but every area of that. If somebody walks in and he's got a badge with his name on it, like Mohammed something, which is about a 50-50 guess, Mohammed something, they can tell the name. They can give you a serial number. We can see things you wouldn't believe, the quality of the stuff that we have. That's why we've been so successful. That's why our blockade will go down in the annals of history as being unbelievable. Nobody's ever seen a blockade like that. It's like a steel wall. So what happened is we then terminated that, and I call it the nuclear dust, and that was the end of that. But if we didn't hit that with the B-2 bombers, or if it wasn't successful, they would have had a nuclear weapon, a nuclear bomb at a very high level, not the highest, but it would have been a very high level. We have much bigger, but we hope that we're never going to have to use it. We have the most. Russia has second. China is very far behind, but going to catch up, unfortunately. You know, they're catching up, but we have the most. We have the most powerful, but we also have the most, but Russia's not far behind. And then you have China in third place, but within 5 years, they'll be probably even. And we ought to make a denuclearization deal. It would be so great. We don't need all of that. We don't need to be able to blow up the whole world 300 times over. It's terrible. It's really, if we could do a denuke deal, I'd love it. And one of those two is very willing to do it, I will tell you. But the other one is less willing to do it, and you need all of them. So the deal we reached with Iran on Sunday will be signed shortly, tomorrow, maybe the next day. Subject deals. My whole life is all about deals. That's all I ever did is make deals, and crazy things happen with deals. I've gone into deals where it's a guarantee. No way it can not be signed, and it doesn't get signed. And I've gone into deals that you have no chance of making, and they go like nothing. So, but we're going to most likely sign a deal. They want to sign a deal, and they've been acting very appropriately. They took a big 2 hits last week. Those were 2 very big hits. So, importantly, Iran has agreed that they will neither produce nor procure a nuclear weapon. Neither produce. Because originally they said, they talk about that they will not develop a nuclear weapon. And some people found it okay. These guys didn't, in all fairness. But I didn't like it. Said it won't develop. I said, what happens if they should buy? I don't know. It's very dangerous for somebody to sell, because whoever sells them a nuclear weapon will get nuked themselves. If they sold a nuclear weapon, only a few that could do it, they would be nuked. They wouldn't have that country long. So it's a very dangerous thing for somebody to do. But I wanted it in there. So it's develop, procure, buy, anything. And you'll see that when you see the agreement, but it's appropriate that we release the agreement. And we did send a copy to Israel, by the way. They've been a good partner. Again, I think they could do better with respect to Hezbollah. I'm not saying they shouldn't protect themselves. I'm saying when 2 drones are shot into the desert and drop harmlessly, you don't have to knock down buildings in Beirut. They could behave better. And frankly, they could do a better job. I love them as a partner. They were terrific. But they could do a much better job with Hezbollah. On that, I don't think they're doing well. And I feel very bad for Lebanon. Lebanon's been, it was a great culture. They had the professors, the doctors, the lawyers. It was an incredible culture, maybe the highest in the Middle East for years and years, centuries. And for the last 50, 60 years, they have been just trashed. They have been living in hell. So they'll work closely with us to turn over the so-called enriched material that's very deep in the bowels of the earth, very deep. Nobody can get it. So it's not important that we do it quickly, but we could do it fairly quickly. When we have a chance, we'll do it. But in the meantime, we have cameras on every inch of it. Nobody can do it. And if they do, we'll hit them with Patriots, that's all. And they'll be gone. And they know that. Technical discussions on the removal of all stockpiles of enriched materials will begin immediately. We're going to start that immediately. And unlike Barack Hussein Obama, who sent Iran pallets of cash and any relief they receive under this deal, they'll have to get based on merit. And it won't be from us. We don't have to give them anything. But some people may want to invest. Like, what are you going to do? Say you can never, ever invest in a country? I mean, it's pretty tough. I don't mind being tough, but it's pretty crazy. You can invest in a country. You can invest in any country you want, but you can't invest there. Well, they need investment because we did $1.5 trillion, maybe $2 trillion worth of damage. So somebody's going to have to help them out. There's no guarantee about helping them out. And could be their neighbors will help them out a little bit. I don't know. But it's a lot of money. Almost nobody has that kind of money. That's the kind of damage that was done. But we're not investing any money. There was a fake story. There was a fake news story that got a man, a person, a good person. J.D. made a statement. It was a perfect statement. And they reported it in a very strange way. But that's why it's fake news, I guess. So we don't give them money. We don't give them any of that. And what happens is with time, if they behave, if they be a citizen of the world, a reasonable citizen of the world. And I think this group, again, I didn't do this for regime change, but I think this group is regime change. I mean, hey, the first group is dead. One little morning, having breakfast, the whole group, they thought they'd never be caught because we never bombed during breakfast, but we bombed. And they all, 88 people. And I'm not proud of that at all. But the second group came in and they were very unreasonable too. And they were all gone. They were all gone. And then the third group, we've been dealing with them. Couple left this planet, but we've been dealing with them. And again, they've been fine. I mean, I've had a lot easier. I've had some easier ones. They're tough, they're smart. Maritime traffic through the Strait of Hormuz has already increased very substantially, and the normal flow of energy will resume in the coming days, and trillions of dollars will be made by the world, and the stock market will, I believe, continue to rise. The only difference is that a player that's very volatile, very tough, very smart, frankly, they have, in one way, a primitive culture, but it's also a genius primitive culture. They're very smart people, very good negotiators, but so are we. So rather than possibly going into a depression, rather than having your favorite president be Herbert Hoover, I was always the one I didn't want to be. I wouldn't have preferred Nixon. I wouldn't have preferred, there are plenty I wouldn't prefer, but the one I always thought of, Herbert Hoover, and he caused it. He raised taxes too fast, and he raised interest rates too fast, all at the same time. And it caused the Great Depression. So I don't think I'll make mistakes like that. I lower taxes. I don't raise taxes. In fact, we just gave you the largest tax decrease, largest tax cut in the history of our country. So we'll be working on a parallel effort with the Gulf nations to address non-nuclear issues such as the conventional ballistic missiles, which we'll be talking about, and support. I mean, they have to have some because other people have some. You got to have some. Somebody said you shouldn't give them one. I mean, I have guys. I like some of these guys, but I don't think they're smart. Sir, you shouldn't let them have any missile. I said, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to let Saudi Arabia have missiles, but they can't have them? Yes, sir. Doesn't work that way, you know. It doesn't work that way. And missiles aren't the problem. They hurt a little location, but they don't blow up the planet. So the Gulf nations will address the non-nuclear issues. As we'll be talking about the ballistic missiles, and we'll talk also about the terrorist proxies that they have. That we don't want that to happen. But I want to thank our partners in both Pakistan and Qatar. These people work so hard. And they knew him a little bit. In the case of Pakistan, quite well. In the case of Qatar, they were sort of at odds. And, you know, Qatar was great because they had right next door. When I flew from there, from that location to Saudi Arabia, I'd fly for 40 minutes, and I'd fly to UAE for 40 minutes, two great leaders there, by the way. In the case of Saudi Arabia, the father's still alive, and he's fantastic, and the son is going to be great. He's going to be great. The Crown Prince and Mohammed at UAE is an incredible warrior. He was dropping bombs. Last week I said, who the hell's dropping all those bombs? It was UAE. He's a good fighter, Mohammed. But every administration for decades has sought to get Iran to relinquish its nuclear ambitions, but the threat only got bigger. The words got bigger and bigger and stronger and bigger, and nothing ever happened. And Iran got stronger and tougher. If we didn't blow them up the first time and then blow out those weapons, they would have been unstoppable. This should have done, what I'm doing and what I did, should have been done years ago. Would have been much easier, much less firepower. But it wasn't. And again, I want to thank all those countries, and I want to thank Israel and Bibi Netanyahu. So obviously the breakthrough would not have been possible without the unprecedented pressure the United States put on the regime over the past year and a half. But again, it started a long time ago. It started with the death of Soleimani. That was a big deal. No president in history has ever been tougher on Iran than I have, and they know that. And by the way, if they don't honor the agreement, or some things aren't even mentioned in the agreement, it's a memorandum of understanding, but we have an understanding of certain things without writing it. And if they don't honor that, we'll probably go back to bombing them until they honor it, you know? It's amazing what bombs can do. So I say it, the Obama deal was a road to a nuclear weapon, and let's call it the Trump deal, was a wall for a nuclear weapon that the nuclear weapon could not get through. Nobody's going to get through it. We built a wall. They weren't going to have it, and that's what we have right now. And it says very clearly, the most important clause to me, too, number one, the Strait opens, but that's much less important than the other clause. Clause number whatever, 5, 8, is a very strong statement that they will never have a nuclear weapon. And it doesn't say they'll have one in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. With Obama, they were able to enrich very quickly. This agreement now provides Iran with a historic opportunity. If they follow the path of cooperation, will have opened for them, their country will have a chance to survive. Now think of it, you know, they have 91 million people. People want me to bomb the bridges. Why don't I bomb? I already did, because, you know, they went back on one of their promises, and I bombed their biggest bridge, the equivalent of that was the George Washington Bridge of Iran. But we bombed that bridge, you saw that. One quick strike by an F-22, the most beautiful fighter jet ever made, by the way. In fact, we're ordering some more of them. We're bringing it out because it's so effective. It's incredible. It's incredible. Well, look, we have the greatest military in the world. Those B-2 bombers are unbelievable. Who would have thought they could handle Each had two because the flight was so long, but they handled three of the biggest, heaviest bombs, hundreds of thousands of pounds, and they handle them like they're nothing. It's amazing. And also, they're undetectable. They flew into Iran, totally, think of it, totally undetected. Now, Iran's waiting for them. They're waiting for them. And they never saw them. 1 o'clock in the morning, they never saw them. They're stealth. And we just ordered 22 more. The newer, upgraded version, which I guess is better. I don't know how the hell you get better. But as I expressed to the world leaders here this week, it's my hope that the peace agreement will be the beginning of a much larger deal all across the Middle East. We're very close. Look at the job we've done on Gaza. Look at Hamas. Hamas has been very silent. You haven't read anything about Hamas. And we're trying to get them unarmed. You know, they grew up with a machine gun in their hand. I think they actually, when they were born, they came out with a machine gun in their hand, so it's not the easiest thing. But they've actually, behaved pretty well, considering this was not the lifestyle that they were taught to have. But including an end to all Iranian aggression, they're not going to be Iranian aggression, and an end to war and terror in Lebanon. So the Lebanon peace is something we'll have to work on a little bit. It's a very small piece of the puzzle, actually, but it still makes a lot of noise. The big deal is the Iran deal. That's where the money is, where the power was. But they have Hezbollah, and we got to get that done one way or the other. We'll do it. I think Israel can do a much better job on it. Syria would love to do it. I was very responsible for the gentleman at Syria that's now the president of Syria. He's done a tremendous job. He's put that country together in a year and a half. Sort of like our country, a year and a half. It's pretty similar size. They said, please don't put him there. He's a very violent man. Al-Qaeda. I said, well, I know one thing, a Boy Scout's not going to work. And he's actually done a very good job. He'd love to go in and, Hezbollah's an enemy of his, and he'd go in but he wouldn't knock down buildings every time he hears there's somebody. He'd just go and get them with precision. But I don't know that people want that. Maybe they don't. Maybe Lebanon doesn't. We have to be guided a little bit by Lebanon. And by the way, the president is going to be coming, Prime Minister, President, going to be coming over to see us very shortly, over the next week or two. Good man. Man is living. What a tough life he's got, because he's got tough groups of people. And it's amazing. Amazing there is a Lebanon with all they've been through. They have been treated worse than just about, I think, anybody. Disrespected incredibly. So the expansion of the Abraham Accords is the other thing that we hope we're going to get. And I think Saudi Arabia, if they lead the way, they'd be doing themselves a big favor, because everybody that's in it, UAE went in right from the beginning. Again, he's a warrior. And they never got out. Nobody ever got out. You think maybe during the war. They were all everybody was afraid of Iran. And that's why we ended up with the original members. But then when the election was rigged, that's right, and I wasn't here at all, nobody cared about anything. The country went to hell in every way. That was the least of it. Middle East was the least of the country went to hell, allowing 25 million people into the country, unchecked and unvetted, many of them criminals, many of them murderers, 11,888 murderers allowed into our country. So this was the least of it. But the past 2 days have also provided an opportunity to discuss a number of other key issues with members of the G7 and our partners. Yesterday morning, we had a productive conversation on the war in Ukraine. I spoke with President Putin. I spoke with President Zelensky, and he was there. And President Putin I spoke over the phone with. And something's going to happen. They're losing a lot of people, a lot of soldiers. They're losing soldiers. Both are losing a lot. Russia's losing more because they're the offensive ones. And when you're offensive in war, you lose more. Pretty simple. But I provided an update on my call Sunday with President Putin and expressed my continued hope. We had a very good conversation with President Putin and a very, very good conversation with President Zelensky. I think they both want to do something. They just don't know how to do it. They want to do it. They just don't know how. In our session yesterday afternoon on international partnerships, I offered an update on how the United States is leading the world in responding to the Ebola outbreak in Africa, sending $375 million in aid so far to help stop and contain the crisis at its source. And we've done great. I was with the president of a couple of presidents came over, by the way, from African nations, and they were so happy with what we did. But where it's unfair is we gave $375 million. The rest of the world gave essentially nothing, maybe a couple of bucks, but nothing. And they were all saying, thank you so much. And I think they've done a good job. It's a terrible thing. Ebola is a terrible thing. That's an unbelievable one. Fortunately, it's not like COVID where it's that easy to spread around, but it's rough. And we've done a good job. We've moved people to certain quarantine, certain locations. But today we also had excellent meetings on the economy and artificial intelligence, which is amazing what's going on with that. It's going to be the biggest thing ever. We have to be very careful with it. It's both great and could be bad. We have to be careful with it. But we're leading China. We're leading the world on that. We're allowing them to do their own electric plants because they need, as an example, those buildings are so big. And they're not taking the community's electricity. I gave them the right. It's my idea. I gave them the right to build electric plants like Con Edison in New York. Dig we must. And they've come up with plants that nobody's ever seen anything like them. Those are by very high IQ people. So they're actually building electric plants. So because otherwise they could never build a building because the grid is old and tired and broken and a mess. So they're building it, and they're going to sell very cheaply, they're going to sell their extra electricity into the grid. So we take care of a lot of things like California, which doesn't have nearly enough electricity. They don't know what they're doing there. And instead of having blackouts and brownouts, they'll be able not to. We found a great deal of unity here at the G7, and we signed a declaration on illegal immigration, the first time ever for a G7 statement. They did a beautiful statement. We signed other agreements to step up and to really coordinate and spend a lot of time coordinating drug trafficking and the stopping of drug trafficking, which is crazy. It comes through Mexico, comes through the southern border, the little that comes through. They find a way, they put it, they're genius. If they would use that genius for good, they'd be very rich people. They have it in engines, they have it in hubcaps, they have it in areas you wouldn't even believe. They have it in the structures of cars. Most incredible thing. But we've done a great job on it. We have drugs coming through the border are down 61%. Drugs coming through water, the sea, ocean, sea, Gulf, down 97.2%. That's the ones that get hit. Just like we hit the Iranian minesweepers and mine droppers, they call them. They dropped. Who would have 28 mine droppers? Who has 28 mine droppers? They actually had them, but they don't have them anymore. We hit them just like we hit the drug dealers. But drugs are down by water 97%, and over 60% they're down. And now we're going to go and focus on the land. They come through Mexico. Mexico has lost control of their country. The cartels run Mexico, and it's sad. And the president's a very good woman, but she's a very scared woman. The drug cartels are totally running Mexico. It's not even close. We agreed to accelerate our efforts to secure our critical minerals and rare earth supply chains, where we have great companies really going to town. We're going to give everybody a big run because we do it better and we had to get motivated. The G7 also agreed that the United States' new approach to international development based on the private sector investment is working at levels that they never thought possible. It's really working. I held a number of very positive bilateral meetings, including with the President of France. It was a very good meeting, actually. The Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim. I tell you, I wish I could really know the guy. You know, some people say, well, he lived in that neighborhood. You can't be you can't be saying things that you'd like to have him say. He was fantastic on this, and he's been a fantastic guy in terms of energy and getting energy out there. President of the United Arab Emirates, Mohammed bin Zayed, who's an amazing warrior. President El-Sisi of Egypt. Prime Minister Modi of India. We spent a long time together today. I spoke to Mohammed. I spoke to the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia a number of times. They're all so happy that they're still, you have to have them happy too, you know. We're using their airports. Not that they could stop us if we didn't want them to, but it'd be nice that I went to get that little sucker. But I missed. I hate missing. But we spoke to all of them and many countries all over the world. So every country, I think Israel too. Look, think of what Israel's getting. They're not going to be nuked. It's very simple. I told Bibi, your biggest risk was that they'd drop a nuclear weapon into the middle of Israel. They'd only need one, and there would be no more Israel. Think of it, Bibi. You got the best, the most important thing that you were asking for is that. So I think they're happy. Some people are going to be, not him, but there are some people, some writers, some that I thought were friends of mine, but I don't want them as friends anymore because they're either stupid or they're bad people. But we stopped nuclear holocaust, and it stopped too. I mean, there's not going to be any of that. So from the beginning to the end, it was clear that this week, America's back. It's bigger and better and stronger. We're more respected as a country right now, I think, than we ever have been. And we were a laughingstock 2 years ago. They would laugh at us. We had a man that should have never been there. You know that. A man that would walk up to a podium once every year, and they'd ask him, what flavor ice cream do you like? I like vanilla. Then he'd try and find the stairs, which he couldn't find most of the time, and he'd leave. This is very unfair reporting. And then you said you didn't know about that. You didn't know there was something wrong. We can never let that happen to our country again. To me, the worst. We had the worst inflation ever. We had the worst in prices and the costs. It's all coming down now because the oil is bringing it down. You're going to see numbers that are going to be amazing. But this evening, I look forward to a very special dinner with President Macron and his fabulous wife at the Palace of Versailles. I sort of like that palace. Palace has a lot of gold. I want to check it out. It's a beautiful palace, maybe the most beautiful of all. I hope you're going to get to see it. The ones that are traveling with me, I hope you're going to get to see it because it's amazing. But they asked me if I'd stay a little bit longer and go to Paris. So I'll get home a little bit later, but it'll be a nice dinner. But I'm interested to see it. I mean, that's the ultimate, I guess. It's the ultimate of its type. Louis XIV. Celebrating the 250th anniversary of America's founding and America's oldest alliance, and we're celebrating that a little bit tonight. They'll have the biggest people in Europe at the dinner, and those people love our country, and hopefully Europe is going to find its way. Europe is having a lot of hard times. They're doing some things very badly on energy and on immigration. They're doing things very badly, and we'll be talking about that tonight. So with that all said, if you want to ask us any questions, feel free to ask the people behind me, yeah? Peter?
Bonjour. You've been clear, President Trump, the United States is not going to directly pay Iran, but the U.S. is going to let the Iranians start making billions of dollars, selling oil, accessing this reconstruction fund.
Only if they're doing things right. Only if, Peter, only if, we're not doing anything. We're not putting up money. Only if they're doing things right. If they're doing things right, if people want to invest, they can invest. But they had this $300 million fund. It's only $300 billion fund. It's only if they're doing things right. Remember this also. When you talk about billions of dollars, they've had much more than $1 trillion worth of damage done. They got a long way. There'll be 15 to 20 years to rebuild what they have right now. So they have to behave themselves. If they're not behaving, they get hit again. You know, they'll be hit again because we can do it very easily. It's going to take a long way for them to build back their anti-aircraft stuff. It's going to take, and you know, the other thing, I want to thank China. President Xi, I was with him, and he stayed neutral, totally neutral, and I appreciate it. And I would want to thank Vladimir Putin. He was very neutral. They could have made it much more difficult for us. And I want to say it. You know, somebody would say, "Oh, that's terrible. He's thanking President Xi of China." Well, let me tell you, I had a long talk with him. You know, they have shoulder weapons to knock down airplanes. That it's not like the real deal, but they're accurate. They're fairly accurate. I said, I would really appreciate you're not giving or selling any of that stuff to Iran. And you know what? For the most part, he didn't. So I just want to thank them because they made it a lot better.
Can you explain, though, what the difference is between giving Iran U.S. dollars and unfreezing U.S. dollars?
Well, the unfreezing, that's an easy one to answer. We have taken a lot of their money, and we have their money. We have taken their money. It's not our money. It's their money, and we froze it. At a certain point in time, I guess we're going to have to give it back. You know, if we didn't give it back, nobody would ever invest in the dollar again. If you took their money, because I thought about it, you know, I'm not the most perfect person. I said to Scott, why do we keep their money? What the hell are we giving it back to them? But, you know, people from lots of nations, some nations we don't agree with, they have their money. The dollar's become very strong under me. And they don't want to have a little conflict with somebody and end up having the United States just take their money. So if you do that, you really don't have a system.
And I did just want to ask you about this. A wise man once said in January of 2020, Iran never won a war, but never lost a negotiation. That wise man.
Who said that?
Donald Trump.
Oh, that's what I thought you were going to say.
So how do you go back to the United States and convince a skeptical American public that this deal is a win?
Look, here they lost militarily, okay? It's very tough because I know that no matter what, if I would go, by the way, if I'd go another 3 or 4 weeks, those same people that are critical would say, he went too long, he should have done, you know, no matter what. If they raised the white flag of surrender, and if they said, praise be to Allah, Donald Trump is the greatest president ever. We totally concede, we totally give up. This war is over, we have failed. The New York Times and CNN and a couple of others, they're not all that dishonest, they'd say, Iran had a great victory, okay? They practically do that. You know, it's amazing. When we knocked out their last ship, they had 159 ships. When we knocked out the last ship, the Times refused to do a story on it. They said, why wouldn't you? They don't have a Navy, and you don't want to do a story on it. They don't have an Air Force, you don't want to do a story. We need a fair press. And that's why they're all doing so badly, because they lost credibility. When I win in a landslide, and I had 93% bad press, they take good stories about me and make them bad. But the only reason that happened is because they have so little, the media has so little credibility that the people voted for me. 93% of the stories on network, ABC is horrible. I think ABC is the worst. NBC is terrible. And CBS is terrible. CNN, obviously. And I never get good stories, no matter what I do. I could do the greatest thing. I won't get good stories on this. I'll get it from fair media. I'll get it from all over the world. They're writing good. But no matter what I do, I'm going to get bad press. I know that. Now, if I did the opposite, if I went out and continued to bomb them for another 4, just bomb the hell out of them, I'd get bad press on that. No, there's nothing I can do. But what this does is it allows the ships to go. If we keep bombing, those ships won't be going. And you're talking about $500, $600, $700 million a day. It's a lot of money. A lot of money. That's why the world is okay. It's liquid. It's fine. Also, we run out of reserves in about 4 weeks. You know, there are reserves all over the world, and we would really run out. And there'll be a time when you wouldn't be able to get it. And you want to see Bedlam? So for all those so-called geniuses that want to show me how smart they are, ask them why didn't they blow up General Soleimani? Ask that of the general and a couple of other people that I like very much, but boy, are they wrong. Go ahead. How about you? Thank you, Peter. I'd give you more, Peter, but people will say I like you too much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Bonsoir, Mr.
You know, he told me that first day in office, He asked me like 7 questions. I answered all of them. Is this true? He said, he just answered more questions in one meeting than Joe Biden did in 4 years. Okay, I'm not going to get you in trouble, but that's what you said. Go ahead.
Well, Mr. President, in The Art of the Deal, you write about the importance of leverage.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have a lot of leverage when it comes to Iran, whether
Tremendous
it's militarily or through economic sanctions. What leverage, sir, do you have when it comes to Israel and Hezbollah to ensure that they abide by the ceasefire?
Well, I think we have leverage just by the fact that we really have Iran now has to be good. They have to behave. And we might help. That's a much smaller conflict. It's a conflict that should be able to be over with. I'm surprised it's taken so long. And it's a much smaller, but we have a lot of leverage. We have the greatest military anywhere in the world. We have the strongest, most powerful. Look at the blockade. By the way, the blockade was more impactful than all of the bombing raids where we dropped $1 billion worth of bombs on Iran. The blockade was so incredible. The naval blockade, the admiral, the whole thing, not one ship got through. That meant no money got through. They were dying. They had no money. They have inflation that's 250 or 300%. They have no money. We have tremendous leverage. We have the leverage of the economy as an example. We'll get that done. That's a small one, and we'll work with Israel and get it done. But I'd like to do it. I mean, you have people living there. Buildings are being dropped on top of them or right alongside of them. How would you like to live there? It's so unfair, especially Beirut. You go into Beirut, and I looked at the scene 2 days ago, yesterday, where they hit. That was a big hit. That was unnecessary in my book. Yeah, please.
2 questions. If you could clarify something you said just a few minutes ago. One of the goals of Epic Fury going into it, you said was...
Say it again. Speak up.
Sorry. One of the goals of Epic Fury, you said going into it, was to destroy Iran's ballistic missiles and its capabilities to build more.
Yeah.
Why is it acceptable to you now that they keep some of that capability? And What
are they keeping? What are they keeping? They have less than other nations now. We knocked out probably 85% of their missiles. The rest of them are underground. They can't even get them out. The other night's raid, I think it was on the first night, we knocked out hundreds of their missiles. Actually, by mistake, we were hitting an area, and you can sort of see when the bombs are going off, and then you see one that looks like, wow, what happened? A lot of missiles knocked out. No, but what are you going to do? Let's spend another 2 weeks and give them none. They don't want to be firing missiles right now. They're going to have a hard time rebuilding. And if people from the Middle East, if people want to invest, and again, they don't have to invest at all, but if they do want to invest, it does have oil. It does have probably a future, but it's going to take a long time. But are you going to let the 91 million people starve to death? I mean, one of the things I was very intent on, they have water desalination plants, very good ones. I could have knocked them out in 5 minutes, just like I knocked out Cargill, and I knocked out everything but the oil. I said, 25, it was so complete. The only thing there is the pipes coming with the oil because I didn't want to ruin the world market because they do a lot of money. But I didn't want to do that, no. It would have been so easy. It would have been easier, and I would have satisfied a group of 10% of the people, but it would have been the wrong thing to do. And it could have caused an international depression. Maybe not.
Iran's position has always been that their nuclear program was for civilian purposes. If they come back after the signing of this and say they want to continue to have a civilian nuclear program, is that acceptable to you?
Well, I've said to them always, I say, look, you have probably the 3rd largest oil reserves in the world. What the hell do you need nuclear for? You need nuclear for some electricity? So I've always felt that way. So we've been pretty tough on that. It is a little hard, though, when you say that somebody wants it. Other people have it, other adjoining states have it, and you're not letting them have it for purposes of electricity and things like that. It's always a little tough. You have to use a little common sense, please. New York Times, please.
Thank you, Mr. President,
Thank you.
for the question. Now that you're approaching a new phase in this conflict with Iran, can you now say whether you will hold anyone in your administration accountable for the strike on a school that killed more than 100 children on the first day of the war?
No, if it was a fault, and as you know, that's under investigation, It's such a strange question to be asked at this state, because you're talking about a long time ago, but nobody did that on purpose. I guess you'd have to say about them, what about the thousands of soldiers that they blew up when they opened their car door? What about the thousands of people that were killed by Iran? No, mistakes are made. The war is nasty. But I know it's under investigation, and I could have a report for you tomorrow. Or I would ask Pete Hegseth that question, because they have it under investigation. Please.
Mr. President, you've been saying all week that this deal permanently prevents Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, but the drafts of the deal that have been floating around barely mention Iran's nuclear program. So can you explain how exactly the deal achieves that goal?
So when I say permanently, it should be permanently. But if it's not permanently, we will bomb them. They will be bombed, just like I bombed them on Wednesday night and Tuesday night, and was going to bomb them on Thursday night at a level that was 3 times greater, and they knew that. I will bomb them. Now, that's with me as president. If you have a weak, pathetic president, maybe that doesn't happen, but I can only do the job that I have to do. I have a long time to go. I have almost 3 years, close to 3 years. Time is going fast. But our country's become we're the most respected country in the world. Those leaders today, they said, we used to laugh at you. 2 years ago, the same guys, they'd laugh at the country. And now they say, you're the most respected country anywhere in the world. Militarily, even military. Take a look at what happened look at what happened in so many different locations. Afghanistan, that horrible retreat that these people made, leaving equipment behind. They weren't under any pressure. You take your time. You can get out. I was going to get out. We were going to get out with dignity and pride, take 100% of the equipment. I was even taking the tents down. But then they got in and they just left. They left all the equipment. I may get all that equipment back. Now, here's the thing. More symbolic, because it's a little old now. But we may get it all back. Afghanistan is kissing our ass. You know that?
So you're threatening to bomb Iran if they don't comply, but there's nothing enforceable in the deal itself. Is that correct?
Doesn't have to be. I let them know. I said, look, if you don't adhere to the agreement, I don't want to do that, but we're going to bomb the hell out of you. And I don't think that they're going to veer from the agreement. What else am I going to do? Am I going to say I'm going to take you to court? Let me take you to court. Let me sue you. No, we're going to bomb the hell out of them if they violate the agreement. I don't want them to. I want them to honor the agreement. Again, the straits close up. Bad things can happen. You know, in war, terrible things happen. Like you mentioned the question before about a school gets hit. Other things get hit. Bad things happen in war. War is a nasty place. I see it. I see it better than maybe anybody has ever seen it.
Of the agreement with the Israelis.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you, President Trump. Oil prices are now plummeting. How do you see this agreement further affecting energy prices in the U.S. and the U.S. economy in the long term? And secondly, Mr. President, how do you think Vice President J.D. Vance did on The View yesterday?
Well, first of all, thank you for the word plummeting, because that's what's happening. Oil prices are plummeting. And that means oil prices are going to come down. You know, if you make donuts, you have a heating, you have a stove, and you have to buy the heat, you need the gas or the electricity or whatever you're using. And when oil prices come down, oil is the biggest thing. Oil is, you get oil prices coming down, and they're going to come down. And we're hitting into 3s now for gasoline, and that'll come down a lot lower. So I was in Iowa just before this started, and I was saying to myself, I can't believe we're doing so well, but I have to go, and we have to put out this fire in Iran, because I don't want them using a nuclear weapon. They would have used a nuclear weapon. 100% they would have used it. The only question is, was it going to be that day or that week? They would have used a nuclear weapon. They were on the way. And I said, we're going to have to put out the fire. And I said, you know, oil prices, so gasoline, we passed 2 gas stations in Iowa, made a speech up there. The people are great. I won it by so much. And I love the people, farmers. And we passed 2 gas stations. One was $1.85. One was $1.91. Now, that's Iowa. But it was, I mean, California has all those crazy taxes that they put on, you know, California taxes. But the oil was down to $2 to, I'd say, between $2 and $2.50. And it was heading down further. and we were going to have a great run. We took a little journey down to a place called the Islamic Republic of Iran, and we bombed the hell out of them, and now they can never have a nuclear weapon. Now, we had a disturbance, but I must say it was much less than anybody thought. The oil never went to $350 a barrel. It went to $115, $120. The oil never went anywhere near that. And the other thing, I thought the stock market would go down 25 or 30%. The stock market a week ago, before we started this, was higher than it was when we started, which tells you that we have a very resilient economy. We have the strongest economy we've ever had. Now, the word affordability is a fake word but made up by the Democrats. Here's where it's fake, because they made it up, because I inherited these prices. And when I had my first news conference, first day, they started screaming affordability, the Democrats. Affordability, affordability, they're screaming. I say, what's that all about? They gave it to me. They gave it to me. It's affordability. And they use that word to a fare thee well. Well, they were the ones that created the affordability crisis. I'm the one that got it down. Remember, highest insurance rates in history, highest rates for everything. Eggs, remember eggs? They were 4 times more expensive than they were in my administration. And I got it down, Peter, very quickly. Our secretary did a good job of agriculture, Brooke. She did a great job with eggs and everything else. And now that the oil is coming down, you're going to see everything follow. Everything follows the cost of energy. And we're going to end up having the lowest energy anywhere in the world. Please. Yeah. No, please.
Thank you.
You're from ABC. You're fake news. Go ahead.
To follow up on oil, can you confirm, will Iran be able to immediately sell their oil to market? And will U.S. sanctions snap back immediately if there is a delay or collapse in the talks? And then relatedly, is there any safeguard in this deal to prevent Iran from charging what they say could be fees after the 60-day extension?
The thing that's going to stop them from doing that, because you can't cover everything in a document, is common sense. They don't want to get bombed. They don't want to get hit. As far as sanctions are concerned, at some point, we have sanctions which will never let them rebuild. They would have no money. They would be in poverty. The 91 million people would starve. So something will happen as soon as they behave. When they behave, we're going to let that go. We're going to have to. I put sanctions on a lot of people, and then I let them go. A lot of countries. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Shinji Abe. I'm a Japanese Yomiuri newspaper company from the Washington correspondent. My question is about the Strait of Hormuz. Did you ask other G7 nations to send military force? And what specifically are you asking of Japan? Or
where are you from?
I'm from Japan.
From where?
Japan. And is military support?
I just left your prime minister. Japan's doing very well. She's my biggest fan, I have to tell you. She thinks I did a great job. You have to call her and ask her. And, she's doing a very good job, by the way. Go ahead.
And military support is no longer necessary.
Yeah, but what do you want to know? Go ahead, just tell me. What do you want to know?
Okay. My question is, did you ask other G7 nations to send military force? And what specifically are you asking of Japan?
To send the Air Force? For what? Oh, other countries, not just Japan. No, we don't need it. Oh, by the way, they all want to do it. They all want to do it. Every single one of them. They want to go be a part of it now. Not while the war was going on. I was a little disappointed. The UK, I said, yeah, it would be nice if you sent ships. I didn't put a hard sell on, but I said it would be nice if you sent some ships. And the Prime Minister said, they'll be there, sir, as soon as the war is over. I said, did he just say that? I couldn't believe it, actually. Japan has offered to get involved, but I mean, I'll be honest, Japan was not willing to get involved during the war. I asked her, I said, you want to get involved a little bit? I didn't put the heavy sell on, but they said, no, we don't want to get involved. Nobody did. We did it ourselves with Israel and with the Arab states that got hit, surprisingly hit. Yeah.
Mr. President?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Thanks a lot, Mr. President. Question on Brazil. I would like to know how was your interaction here in Evian during the G7 with the Brazilian President Lula. Did you talk about the new U.S. tariffs on Brazil? Did you talk about the U.S. designation of criminal gangs as terrorists?
We did.
How was it?
I spent a lot of time with him, actually, and it's become a little rough country, right? Politically. It's been a little dangerous politically. You're talking about Brazil. Yeah. It's been nasty. I hear they arrested somebody that's running for office today. I found that out after we left. I just said goodbye to him, and I heard that they arrested the Bolsonaro Jr. He was doing well in the polls, and they arrested him because he made a statement in Texas. They arrested him, or they want to arrest him. They have something out for his arrest. No, they play pretty tough. But nobody plays tougher than the United States. Look, our elections are totally rigged. We have rigged elections. Please, in the back. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, President.
Thank you.
Sumu Sakamoto, the Asahi Shimbun. For G7, the concept of the rule of law has long been considered the core principle. During this summit, any of the leaders expressed any concerns on the possible violation of international law on the attack on Iran?
No, actually the opposite. They felt they were very dangerous. They were very relieved because they could get hit too. They were very relieved. No, we never discussed that. No, it would be the opposite. They broke the law. They killed thousands of people. They killed thousands of our soldiers and hundreds of thousands of people. Yeah, please, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Mr. President,
yes.
Yesterday, the Pakistan thanks for the Chinese government to help make a peace talk between Iran and the United States. So, what do you think about China's work to get the United States and Iran sitting down to talk and make the deal? And the second question is...
Okay, let me answer the question.
Okay.
So I think China's been terrific. I told you that before. They could have been bad. They could have sent in to try and block or break the blockade. They could have sent in an oil ship with 6 destroyers alongside of it on each side. They didn't do that. President Xi helped me. He tried to help, and I think he probably helped get it solved. You know, they get 50% of their oil from that location. So that wasn't that easy. President Xi was fantastic. He tried to help me solve it. And he didn't give any big weaponry. I guess we'll find something somewhere along the line. But he didn't give any big weaponry, I can tell you that. No, I think China I couldn't ask for much more. Again, they were impacted because they get more than 50% of their oil from the Hormuz Strait. And no, I thought they were fantastic. Okay, how about one more question right here? Go ahead, please.
The latest YouGov Economist poll shows that Democrats have lost a 5-point edge on the generic congressional ballot. They just have now just a 2-point lead since February. Do you think that they're losing momentum?
Well, I see the Republicans in generics. You know, generics are very important. I don't know how accurate, because I see a lot of bad polls. The polls are very dishonest, just like a lot of reporters, like these people over here, are very dishonest. CNN, ABC, it's a whole group of them over there that really dishonest people. But, you know, and really networks are very dishonest. And they have to straighten themselves out or they're not going to be very successful because people don't believe them anymore. But no, the generics are very interesting because the Republicans are coming up strong even before this. You know why? They're seeing all these lunatics, like the guy in Maine with the swastika. You know, for 10 years they've been calling me a Nazi. And now they have a Nazi running. He's got a tattoo on him. I've been denying it for 10 years. They know it's not so, but they've been calling. I don't think they can call it to me anymore. You know, one more? One more? Go ahead, Peter. Let me finish with Peter because he's been better to me than he's been to Biden.
Thank you, President Trump. I have a question about this weekend. Why not stick around for the signing ceremony with this Iran peace deal?
I might.
You might?
Yeah, I might. But I'd rather, this is a memorandum of understanding. It's very important, but it might not be the kind of a document that I should be signing.
Is there some element to this where you send the vice president, if it works out, great, you look like a genius for sending him. And if it doesn't work out, it's the vice president.
I like that idea, sure. Well, this way, if it works out, I'm going to take the credit. If it doesn't work out, I'm blaming JD. You better be careful, JD. He's going to turn his plane around and get the hell out of here. Yeah, I like that idea. I think it's a good idea. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to the live press conference from President Trump. I like that some people, they still believe on the leftist narratives that Iran has won the war. They stand against the United States of America for some reason. They still believe the Russia collusion, the China collusion. They still believe all those things, even though Obama is actually fighting that in court as we speak. Find it very interesting. By the way, the latest price, let's see, for the barrel of oil is going up and down. We are looking about at $77.18 a barrel of oil. This is Brent oil. This is the most expensive one. Now, somebody says, oh, Dennis, those are just predictions for futuristic prices. Well, you know what? They've also raised the price in gas in every blue Democratic state. And if they don't have a blue Democratic state, they have Democratic cities. Price gouging is a real problem, and it is happening. Now, with that being said, I know most of you, if not all of you, actually know exactly what's going on. While I am happy that we are going to have this signed and everything, I don't trust it. Only because I don't trust Iran. Now, let's go ahead and get to our second half, because I'm running out of time here. Let's get into our second half, and this is actually an immigration issue that we have, and Minnesota, which we know where this is where the whole Nick Shirley, opening the can of fraud investigation started. Many people criminalized us, called us racist. You heard the President Trump say that. And they called us Nazis, etc., as if they love the United States of America. But in reality, we already know that it was the Democratic Party who has been paying the KKK Foundation, the Nazis that you on the left love so much to blame us for their doing, which is actually your doing. President Trump has been steadfast on working for America. We have been steadfast, speaking the truth, sharing the facts, sharing the knowledge that we acquire, not just by listening to Fox or CNN or ABC or MSN 13, etc. We actually use critical thinking. We use a lot of common sense arguments. See, the leftists, for some reason, they just don't like to debate. They like to argue. They like to fight. And that's not what we're all about. If push comes to shove, listen, we can all get angry and we can all say we're going to fight each other. We can all say we're going to shoot each other. But at the end of the day, we hope that those are just words. Unfortunately, the left has actually acted on those words. The Democrats, which most people identify on the libtard side, they have become the racist. Well, Democrats have always been racist, but they have become the hateful party, the violent party. And we talked about Antifa. They told us it is a figment of your imagination, as Nadler once said. Antifa doesn't exist. They say that communists are not trying to take over the United States of America. They say that Muslim terrorists is just a figment of the Americans' imagination, and yet there is a 100-year plan for Muslims to take over the United States of America, and there is a 1,000-year plan for China to take over the whole continent of America. Now, with that being said, and I know that a lot of people on the left are going to call me a liar and say, oh, this guy is full of shit. Oh, everything he says is bullshit. Well, do I have a video that you may have missed? How about I stop talking and then we together start listening to see what's going on? Well, first of all, before we jump into the video, our plan was very simple. First of all, we vote for President Trump. We want to make it so big that it's hard to rig. And we won. Boom. First things first. Bring down the price of eggs. I know you thought I was going to say the border, but no. First things first. Eggs. We want eggs. Lower the price of eggs. And we got it. And then we said we need a secure border, and we got it. And then we said, since we had a massive illegal immigration invasion, we need massive deportations. A lot of rhinos, a lot of flakes, a lot of women out there pretending to be feminist activists, actually pushing agendas against themselves, convince other leftist men that having a mangina was a good thing. Well, if you are on the left side, which, by the way, let me give you a tip. Nobody knows who you are. So if you respond to this, it's on you. But every single male on the left, you guys all have vaginas. You are not real men. You can't even tell me what a woman is. Hey, enough about me ranting over here. Why don't we go ahead and take a listen at this report? I think you'll find it very interesting. And let's listen to see if this figment of my imagination, what we call Antifa, see if they exist or don't exist. Let's take a listen.
They f***ed up, okay? Go watch my other videos. Doesn't matter if you're not here and you're not caught up. You missed the fucking fight. Boots on the ground. I am talking specifically to my followers. This is everything I have talked about, and this is exactly what I said was going to happen. Get your guns and stop these people.
The U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Minnesota announced that 15 Antifa members have been indicted for their alleged roles in conspiring to hinder federal immigration enforcement operations in Minneapolis earlier this year. The suspects, 12 of whom are in custody, are all charged with conspiracy to impede or injure a federal officer, and some are charged with further crimes. Federal prosecutors allege that each suspect took part in a conspiracy to obstruct federal immigration enforcement officers, including ICE personnel, through force, intimidation, and threats. The suspects are alleged members of the Antifa Cell Direct Action Minnesota Network, a radical far-left group accused of...
Antifa doesn't exist. This is fake news, guys. Fake news. Fake news. Fake news.
...coordinating operations against federal immigration officers. Federal prosecutors maintain that the group used signal chats to organize...
By the way, if you want to watch this video, I put the link on the description for their channel.
...and carry out rapid response operations, including coordinating street blockades, tracking federal vehicles, surveilling the ice field office at the federal Whipple building, and other activities meant to stop immigration officials from conducting their business. The government says that DAM served as the hub for participants to share intelligence, plan actions, recruit volunteers, and assign roles. One of the accused is Kyle Wagner. Kyle Wagner has been in custody since February, after encouraging followers to take up arms against federal agents. More charges were announced against him during Tuesday's press conference. On January 8, 2026, Wagner posted a video warning agents, "We're f***ing coming for you." Prosecutors allege he urged followers to get your guns and suggested identifying agents even if it had to be done at the barrel of a gun.
Today I can disclose to you further actions by federal law enforcement in combating that violence. Last year, President Trump issued National Security Presidential Memorandum 7, which directed the Department of Justice to prioritize politically motivated violence. To accomplish that mission, the Deputy Attorney General stood up Joint Task Force Vanguard, to enforce a national security strategy to investigate, prosecute, and disrupt those who engage in political violence and intimidation. Today, a federal indictment was unsealed, charging 15 defendants with conspiracy to impede or injure federal officers and other charges related to efforts of two Minneapolis-based Antifa groups that violently opposed the enforcement of federal law in our state. The defendants are members and associates of Direct Action Minnesota. They are charged with conspiracy to impede or injure a federal officer, solicitation to commit a crime of violence, interstate threats, interstate stalking, assault on a federal officer, and destruction of government property. Earlier this morning, agents of Homeland Security Investigations conducted a coordinated law enforcement operation culminating in the arrest of 12 of the 15 defendants. One defendant had already been in custody on other federal charges. 2 defendants remain fugitives at large. Today's charges and arrests reflect a broad federal effort to address organized, lawless behavior which seeks to disrupt the execution of federal law, endanger law enforcement, and importantly, endanger the very communities that these defendants falsely claim to be protecting. Be assured, the Department of Justice and my U.S. Attorney's Office has and will distinguish between lawful protest and criminal conduct. These defendants have been charged not for what they said, but for what they did. They all joined an agreement, a conspiracy, to interfere with lawful immigration enforcement operations. The conspiracy was not to interfere by their voice, but to do it by force. That's a crime, and it will not be tolerated in the United States. Direct Action Minnesota emphasizes their violent, militant approach to politics and are highly critical of nonviolent, peaceful protests. You see here a Facebook post from one of the defendants, Cameron Kennedy, writing, quote, "We need to become ungovernable." As the name suggests, Direct Action Minnesota is an organization dedicated to direct action against federal law and immigration enforcement. This action is not peaceful, it's obstructive, disruptive, and unlawful. The organization trains its members in the aggressive use of shields against law enforcement, surveillance, operational planning, and rapid mobilization against law enforcement action. Though investigations are ongoing, what we know now is that Direct Action Minnesota is comprised of members of subgroups. For example, the Black Hat Workers Collective. The Black Hat Workers Collective is a Minneapolis-based Antifa affinity group which advocates, promotes, and utilizes militant tactics and violence. Here you can see that their Facebook cover page shows as a banner the burning down of the Minneapolis Police Department's 3rd Precinct. One of the leaders of Direct Action Minnesota, Defendant Kyle Wagner, identifies himself as Antifa, and he doesn't shy away from it.
My name is Kyle, I'm Antifa, and there's so much rage in me that I've had to record this like 15 times trying to get the message out. They f***ed up, okay? Go watch my other videos, doesn't matter if you're not here and you're not caught up, you missed the fucking fight. But if you are, it's time to suit up. Boots on the ground, Nicollet and f***ing 26th. My house is 4 blocks away. Anywhere between Franklin and Nicollet and 26th and Nicollet, show up, ready to go. Okay, not talking about peaceful protests anymore. We're not talking about having polite conversations anymore. I am talking specifically to my followers. This is everything I have talked about, and this is exactly what I said was going to happen. This is exactly what I said was going to come when we didn't go and march on Whipple with guns. Sorry, but welcome to America 2026, where Second Amendment is the only thing that's going to keep you protected from literal Nazi gunmen that are killing innocent people in the street with impunity. This is not a joke. There's nothing fun to chant about it. Get your guns and stop these people.
We're not talking about peaceful protests. His words, not mine. During Operation Metro Surge, Direct Action Minnesota infiltrated and exploited lawful protests to more efficiently carry out its unlawful direct actions, targeting operations involving ICE as well as other federal law enforcement, and as well as other state law enforcement. In order to achieve the ends of the conspiracy, Direct Action Minnesota was highly organized, holding meetings on a regular basis, and engaged in what they called operational security, or OPSEC. The indictment unsealed today includes a focus on 2 days in which Direct Action Minnesota organized and participated in actions against federal and local law enforcement on January 23, 2026, and on March 1st, 2026. On those days, Direct Action Minnesota members deployed what they called hard and soft blockades against federal law enforcement, as well as against Hennepin County Sheriff's deputies. Direct Action Minnesota shut down operations at the federal Whipple building, a government building just north of the Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport, and the main hub for several federal agencies. Members of their hard blockade team used vehicles, RV trailers that they would overturn, check hedgehogs, and ice blocks that they would throw at law enforcement to obstruct roads used by law enforcement near the Whipple building in order to impede the movement of law enforcement. Members of their soft blockade team used homemade shields constructed from plastic, wood, and metal to physically resist the efforts of law enforcement and to aggressively break through teams of officers on foot. Direct Action Minnesota members also engaged in what they called commuting tactics, which included identifying, following, surveilling, harassing, and confronting law enforcement officers. Conspiracy members even followed law enforcement officers from locations like the building, the Whipple building, to the officers' homes. For example, as alleged in the indictment on May 4, 2026, defendant Isaac Sant followed federal officers from the Whipple building all the way to Hudson, Wisconsin, where St. Croix County deputies stopped him. Such stalking and other direct actions against law enforcement are criminal, they're un-American, and they'll be met with swift justice. That's why we're here today. To those who choose to threaten or harm federal officers, we will hold you accountable. We will defend federal officers, we will protect the public, we will enforce the law.
Well, my friend, what you see with your own eyes is not what I see with my own eyes. And I really wish that that the case in the court would have brought up the issue that protesters are out there making all this unnecessary noise, which is impeding investigation. It's impeding the work of the ICE agents. I like to think that Americans would be supporting ICE to clear this country of illegal immigrants. Now, with a name like yours, Mr. Miguel Martinez, I assume that you are an illegal beaner in this country. And as such, I understand why you might be upset. But you have to understand something. It's not just about beaners coming across the border. It is about all kinds of people from all over the world coming through the border. And those who came here illegally. by the sheer reason that they came here illegally, should be deported immediately. And with that being said, let's see what Kristi Noem is talking about here on this little quick clip.
Special envoy for the Shield of the Americas, Kristi Noem, was with Maria here yesterday, sharing that China has been orchestrating a highly coordinated travel agency-style operation designed to funnel Chinese nationals across U.S. borders. Here she is with Maria.
What? You mean to tell me that I tell the truth? It's not just about beaners, man. It's about national security. Now, I don't care if you think that your primo or your carnal is over here just to work and get drunk. I don't give a shit if they are your family. I don't give a shit if they're your friends. If they are here illegal, they gotta go. Should have never been here in the first place, so shut the fuck up. This is the United States of America, and we respect our laws. We respect our border security. So shut up. We're trying to protect our nation. You don't like it? Then get the fuck out. That's simple.
Yesterday, watch.
We saw very coordinated attacks of people coming into this country from China that were facilitated not just through the southern border, but through the northern border as well. Countries that I have worked with in Latin and South America have told us how they had Chinese operations set up for people to fly into their countries, almost like a travel agency would be. They would show up, be handed certain documents, a backpack, get on a bus, and then bust right up over our southern border.
And it's not just because she says it. The people that were coming in here that were told to go back is because they saw that President Trump secured the border. So now all of a sudden, these migrants, these illegal immigrants on these caravans were talking shit about Mexico because they have been promised free passage. They have been promised money and ways for them to get through all the way through the United States of America. And they didn't care that they were illegal. So they were pissed off. They themselves were saying it to the camera. They told us to come because they had a way to help us. Mexico made billions of dollars during these caravans coming to this country illegally. Not only that, but Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, created and allowed all these little locations to where these migrants will temporarily go in and have a roof over their heads. They had all these clinics, all these restaurants. Yeah, some people volunteered and gave them free food, but for the most part, those people were also getting paid. Billions of dollars went through the Mexico economy thanks to hundreds of thousands daily caravans, which amounts to millions in this country. See, people that are stupid in this country, people that are naive and gullible, they don't understand what that's about. Maybe because you don't speak Spanish. Maybe because you're not a migrant and you don't understand the things that they have to do to come here illegally. You don't understand that there is people that actually have homes and they sell those homes to be able to come to this country illegally. And let me tell you something. See, that's the wrong dream that people get sold. The real dream of a family is to be rich. And how do you become rich? My friends, let me tell you that there is no richer person than that man that has a wife and kids, has a roof over their heads, and has a job. Whether they got money to go to Disneyland or just go down to the river, let me tell you something. Materialism does not make you rich. You are rich if you have your family with you. What is the one thing that I always wish that I would have had? I didn't wish for my mother to come back with a lot of money. I didn't wish for my mother to go and get all these houses and all this other extra money. No, I wish for my mother to be right with me. I didn't care about food. I didn't care about a roof over my head. I didn't care about money. I just wanted my mother with me. Period. Something that people don't understand when they come from the southern border. They come to this country and the first thing they do is they start making money and they lose their family. Children cussing them out. Eric and his brothers telling their mom to shut the fuck up. How does that happen in a Mexican household where the man is the macho? Where the man is the one that gets angry and disciplines the kids? Teenagers insulting their parents. And there ain't shit the parents can do here in America because they will call the police on them if they get disciplined. Well, I discipline my kids. They call the cops. You know what the sheriff told me? Dennis, good job. Shook my hand. Discipline your children. They seem happy here. They're not afraid of you. And they seem to be well educated. Well, guess what, America? We got to continue to defend this country. And we got to continue to teach our children to be good people and to love this country as well. For any beaner that comes over here and tells me that the illegal immigrants is a good thing to have, well, you're just a beaner. Get the hell out of here. See, I like beaners like myself who come here and respect the law, love this country. There is a reason for me to be here. I believe this is the greatest country in the world. But see, by you libtards, you guys hate this country. You guys think this country is racist. You guys think this country is violent. You are the ones who are causing all that. You are causing all this racism and division by being lawless and godless. You got no moral compass. You don't even know who you are. You're trying to figure out where you're from, what the hell kind of ancestry you have. You go to the website of Ancestry.com and you go over there and try to find out if you have any black or Indian in you. You go over there and try to find out, where do I belong? What kind of color should I be representing? See, I don't have that problem. I know my ancestry. I know where I come from. And color has nothing to do with the way that I am today. That's the difference with me and other migrants that come to this country. Not everybody deserves to come in here. It doesn't matter if you're starving. Get you as a job. Go find a way to make some money. Let me tell you something. Don't give me that bullshit that you have to go beg on the street. No. It's you don't want to be poor and you don't want to work for it because you don't think it's worth it. Well, let me tell you something. If you decide to make children and you go out there and you make minimum wage and you don't have the luxuries to give them, but they got food, they got a roof over their head, and they got you, those children will be happy. I guarantee it. Those children will truly be happy. And what that's going to do is going to create a mentality, a mindset that says, I need to work. I need to help my parents. My parents discipline me, but they love me. They teach me good. I'm going to tell you a quick story before I hit this play. I was at a YMCA in the pool. Now, in the pool, they have a little hoop, a little basketball hoop. And there was a kid in there, a little white kid, little white boy, 10 years old, just jumping on the water, boom, almost hitting all the kids that are in the water. Now, his handler, which I don't believe that was his mom, was his lesbian Mexican, I think, or something like that. And I told the kid, hey, come here, let me talk to you real quick. Listen, buddy, you cannot be jumping in the pool like that because you're going to hurt somebody. How about we do this? How about you take a shot, I'll get the ball, get the rebound, and I'll go ahead and let you do this, blah, 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 blah. That lady was fuming because I disciplined that kid. Yeah, obviously not physically, but verbally. And she started going off on me, and you will never guess it. You will never guess it. Guess what happened? Salud, my friends. Stay thirsty. Guess what happened? The moment the lady started going off on me, he said, no, stop. Roll. No, I'm just kidding. But he did say stop. He is right. Shut her up. I looked at her and I went, everybody in the pool was having a good time. That little 10-year-old white boy, he accepted discipline. Kids are not stupid. And they will only turn out to be bad people if you celebrate their entitlement and you spoil them. And not in a good way. Spoiling in a bad way. Man, I was so proud of that kid. Told her to shut up. She said, shut the hell up. Man, I'll tell you, man. I'm telling you. You got to know how to discipline. You got to know how to lead. See, a lot of people on the left, they just don't know how to lead. They're horrible leaders. They're horrible. I'm telling you, I don't understand the mentality. They're so retarded. I don't understand. You hate it here. You think this is the worst country. You think this country is division. You think this country is hatred and racist and blah, blah, blah. Then get the hell out of here. Why are you here? Aren't you talking shit about yourself? If you choose, you can go anywhere in the world, but you choose to come to this country, you just talk shit about yourself. But guess what we do on this channel? Guess what my patrons do on this channel? We celebrate America. 250 years anniversary. We celebrate our military. We love and honor and respect and wish the best for those veterans who went and gave it all and continue to give it all today. But those veterans that flip on us, the ones who betray us, those veterans who lost the damn mind and rather our enemies take over than us, not much respect for those. But everybody else, I love them. I'm going to tell you, you're not asking. I cry like a baby missing his mama when I think about all of my brothers and sisters who died for this country. All of my old veterans, those people that will never meet, those people whose remembrance goes into every American's hearts, those people who sacrificed their lives just by signing up for the military. My heart bleeds for them. My heart breaks for their loss. And before you go around and say President Trump is a draft dodger, he has redeemed himself twice. And the best thing is that the time that he redeemed himself is when he became the commander-in-chief, the highest position in the military. So you can't say shit about draft dodging anymore. Leftist says, ignorance is bliss. I stand for America. Who do you stand with?
It was a very coordinated facilitation of bringing in people that were Chinese nationalists into the United States. And overwhelmingly, the testimonies have been that they were the same age individuals, young, mainly men, some females, but very much a coordinated attempt to get individuals into our country to change our country.
Joining me now is Michigan Congressman John Molnar. He chairs the House China Select Committee. Congressman, I want to get your thoughts on what you just heard from the former secretary about what the Chinese are doing and how they're doing it.
Well, first of all, this shouldn't be surprising because we know China has been partnering with the drug cartels in Mexico and actually giving the precursors of fentanyl that has come across our southern borders. And President Trump rightly pushed back on that and continues to do that. But this is a concern. And that's why it's so important to have secure borders, to know who's coming across your border. And that's something that it's important to highlight and to recognize. Secure borders are in America's interest.
Well, sir.
You see that? Illegal immigration. Let me paint this picture for you very clearly. If you go out there and protest ICE when they're trying to get a couple of people out, shut the hell up and get the fuck out of the way. That is exactly what I want to see in deportations. Hundreds of thousands in caravans. I want to see hundreds of thousands daily being deported. We are not stupid. You go and cost America, taxpayer dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars protecting that illegal caravan of migrants. Say something. Say shit. You can say shit. That is exactly what I want to see, but facing the other way. So you voted for Trump so that we can have mass deportations. And you little rhinos saw the violence, which, by the way, the violence only happened because of protesters, of terrorists, Antifa for the most part. There's no violence. There's no accidents. There's no casualties. There is no problem when ICE is allowed to do their jobs by the locals. So I want to see this many people deported every single day, because that's what we voted for. And before you go and throw that, I'm also a beaner. I sure am, because I love my beans. I love being a beaner, and I love this flag. That's where I was born. But this is the flag where my children are born. This is where I am an American citizen. And doggone it, I made an oath to this nation and its people. And I intend to abide by that oath. That's the kind of man that I am. I want to see, again, that many people being deported. Now, in case you became a rhino, in case you became a Democrat and went back to the loser party, I want to remind you of that. We voted to get those people out of our country. That's simple. Now, if you missed the live that we just did, the press conference, 12 out of 15 Antifa members are in jail right now. And I hope they rot in there. And we want to see more Antifa be disqualified from this country. Just because you are born in this country does not mean that you can't be anti-Americanized. What would be the word? You can be the Americanized. You can be stripped of your citizenship rights if you are a traitor to this country. Now, we know the most obvious reason or punishment for a traitor. We know what that is. But we would just be happy with getting rid of your ass. Just go to another country. Get the hell out of here. JJ doesn't know what the hell Antifa is. Don't worry, buddy. It is just a figment of our imagination. No big deal. Oh, man, these guys, bro, these retards will never understand. You know, you went to your leering center and you just didn't leer anything. There's no hope for you guys. With that being said, American patriots, I want you to understand, even though my numbers and views has dropped a lot, I get it. It's okay. Don't worry about it. I'm not mad about that. I want you to understand that there is millions of illegal immigrants who have access to the internet and will go to every conservative channel and put them down. Now, I get it. There is a lot of people out there that really have no skill to do what we do. But nonetheless, these trolls are not American. They're illegal immigrants. Some of them are just libtards. But some of them are also from another country. In Africa, India, with hundreds of phones set up so that they can go ahead and disrupt the truth from being shared. I'm going to tell you something. If it wasn't for you patriots subscribing and becoming members and coming in here and giving me some words of advice and of wisdom and cheering on and support and love, I can't do it. I just can't do it alone. But together, we can continue to spread the truth Don't let these libtards come in here. They haven't been here through the whole show, so they don't know what the hell they're talking about. With that being said, let's go ahead and finish this clip.
Certainly, as we talk about the concerns, whether the Chinese are trying to buy U.S. farmland near military sites, or just simply spying on U.S. citizens and technology, it's a big issue with China. And obviously, there's some new news with China that I wanted to get your take on here, because they say that they've arrested an American citizen on suspicion of espionage and endangering national security. So this is Min Zin. He's been placed under criminal detention by Chinese authorities. Min reportedly was invited to the country by a Chinese university, and he also has a history of Myanmar activism, Congressman. Now, the Trump administration's been pushing for the release of Christian pastor Ezra Jin and Hong Kong entrepreneur Jimmy Lai, but there's been no success here. What do you think the detention and this news story of this U.S. citizen in China really does to our relationship with them, in particular on the heels of the president and several cabinet officials going to Beijing just a few weeks ago?
Well, I give the president a lot of credit for bringing up these important human rights concerns and advocating for the release of these people unjustly detained. And in the case of this, is an American citizen who, he headed up a think tank and basically was just simply highlighting information that the Chinese Communist Party didn't like. And so it really illustrates how their national security laws can be weaponized against Americans and against others, and be unjustly imprisoned. And they lured him to come to China under pretenses of participating in an academic exercise, and he's now in prison. And so I think it's important that we speak clearly that this is not acceptable for American citizens, but also highlight the threat to all Americans and people of other countries when they do business with China, travel to China. You are at risk because they can deem anything you do, say that they don't like, as threatening their national security and saying it's espionage.
Certainly. And I think that obviously the administration's eyes are wide open with those discussions and, of course, this new news. The president, though, this morning, he actually doubled down on his demand for Congress to tie the Save America Act to new FISA legislation. He posted on Truth Social, this was earlier today. Here's what he wrote. I want to read this to you. For the good of the nation and the people of our country, I will not approve FISA without the Save America Act going along with it. Not complicated, actually. The Republicans fell into a trap. Congressman, the House passed the Save America Act, but Leader Thune told Maria there's not the votes there in the upper chamber. Where are we now?
Well, I think you're right. I think in the House we can pass the Save America Act. We have. We passed FISA. I think it's incumbent on the Senate to continue to make the case. When we talk about the Save America Act, we're basically saying we think that we should know who's voting in our elections, and people should be American citizens, and there should be a photo ID. It's very simple and straightforward, and I think as the American people fully understand what this is, they will be advocating for this as well. And I think the president's absolutely right. This is vital for the integrity of our elections. And so it's important that we pass FISA, that we keep our homeland safe. It's also important to protect the integrity of our elections.
Before you go, Congressman, real quick, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth meeting with top Republicans on the Hill yesterday, and he talked about the potential of a Reconciliation 3.0 package. Now, President Trump wants Congress to pass additional defense spending. That brings the Pentagon's budget to $1.5 trillion. And then Capitol Hill, just about 2 weeks away from the recess for August. The Republicans are now saying, you and your party, the Democrats, are going to keep trying to interfere with the president's agenda. What do you think happens? Because you do sit on appropriations.
Yeah, I think our Appropriations Committee is going to take up our defense subcommittee bill, and we are going to pass that out of committee. I think you'll find that it'll be simply Republican votes only because the Democrats.
We already know what's going to happen. What I'm more disappointed on is how Republicans don't fight as much as the Democrats do. The Democrats just make a lot of noise. We're more conservative. I guess that's why we're conservatives. We're more conservative. We don't really believe on starting up a fight because we will certainly get it done. You know what I'm saying? But I want to share one last clip here that I got for you guys. Now, some of you guys may get triggered by this, but It was a black man that shared it, so I will share it with you, and here we go.
There was no black jurors. You know why? Because you can't be unbiased, you dumb If you answer the question, I can't send a black man to jail because he's black, you're not getting on the jury. You're so unintelligent, you can't even fill out a form correctly. You don't even know who your daddy is because 78% of you don't have your father in the home anymore. You got baby mama running around with 8 kids so they can get EBT cards. Oh, there was no black.
You know that's the truth right there. Now let me tell you something. Let me ask you a question. Why is it that every time that I hear a black man singing a song or rapping a song or whatever it is, the black man never mentions or honor their father? It's always mama, dear mama, 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 mama. Let me tell you something. I love my mother, but I also respect and love my father's legacy. Hey, just a little fact of life. Don't shoot the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just here delivering the information. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in to the Dennis Herrera Show, and I'm glad that you are here with me sharing the truth. For the truth shall set you free, my friends. Hey, I want to say thank you guys really for subscribing. Thank you for considering becoming members. Guys, it doesn't matter what level of membership, I appreciate you. You don't have to pay the highest. Doesn't matter. Real fishy, I got you, brother. You my brother. Every single one of you Americans who stands for America, I consider you my family. Now, there's a close circle, and I appreciate them even more because of the love and trust that they have put and given me as a person. Thank you so much for your support. God bless you. God bless your family. And, well, hey, come on. Keep pushing on. God bless the USA.